Everybody, welcome to another edition of Izzy Cinema Escape off my YouTube channel. Today's review is based off of one of my favorite, most underrated John Carpenter films of all time. And anyone who is familiar with John Carpenter knows that he directed the classic 1978 horror classic Halloween. He did Assault on Precinct 13, Vampires, Ghost on Mars, Escape from New York and Escape from LA. I mean, he's been involved in a lot of monumental and influential films. Even the most influential film of all time, They Live. He is by far, in my opinion, one of the greatest and most underrated directors in cinema. This review is based off of a science fiction love story known as Starman, starring Jeff Bridges and Karen Allen. The story is basically following the premise of this widow who has experienced the tragic loss of her husband, and the government has essentially sent a message to outer space in order to get in contact with these extraterrestrial beings. Unfortunately, a being of some sort responds to their call and it enters into our atmosphere. Mistaking it for an enemy aircraft, they shoot it down, and the sentient being, the alien, is on the verge in search of finding a vessel, if you will. Happening upon this house where this widow is grieving for her husband, this alien takes the form of her deceased husband, and she has to take him to the rendezvous point in order for the mothership to take him back to their home planet. Needless to say, on paper, you look at it, you think, okay, doesn't really sound that interesting, especially when when it's labeled as a science fiction love story. My first experience in watching this film, I remember watching it on television, and my dad was watching it, and I just remember sitting there watching it and being completely transfixed with it and loving and feeling very emotional with the overall theme and how this alien has taken the form of her husband. And initially, at the beginning, there's this reaction of recoil and fear. Slowly but surely, it's almost as if she's falling in love with her husband all over again and getting to experience those final moments that she most likely didn't get to experience when he was alive. It is, simply put, a marvelous film with marvelous acting all across the board. You have Jeff Bridges, who completely immersed himself with this role, and because when you think about it from my perspective, and this is my perspective, I feel as if we were truly visited by extraterrestrial beings within our solar system, and they're happy to experience our atmosphere and how people interact with one another, and the animals and the trees and the various buildings. They would truly be completely out of their element, and he captures that essence of this being who is absolutely out of their element, and everything that he's seeing for the first time, and he's learning as the journey goes along. And just the chemistry that he has with Karen Allen, just beautiful, remarkable. When you think about science fiction, obviously there are people who will think of Independence Day, Predator, Aliens, Vampires, Martian. I mean, there's a lot of great science fiction films out there that are very memorable in their own execution, but to combine a science fiction / love story and have it still be remarkably successful and emotional at the same time is a rare feat. And John Carpenter, for all intents and purposes, isn't exactly known for having a love story. I mean, it's at least at this point in time of his career, it's very rare to see when you see one of the critic headlines saying a tender, moving science fiction love story. You see that, and you see directed by John Carpenter. And I'll never forget, I was like, John Carpenter, the same director who did Halloween 1978? I can't envision him doing a love story, but hey, it worked. Obviously, there's not a lot of special effects in there, and the special effects and the action that does take place, it serves the story while also providing that core emotional reaction that literally moves the soul. And Karen Allen, absolutely beautiful, and physically beautiful, and her performance is absolutely mesmerizing as well. It's really about their journey. It's about the journey of self-discovery and being able to experience that sense of belonging, and that sense of being able to say what you want to say to that loved one that most likely that person didn't get to say when they were alive. Special effects wise, as I mentioned, it's very simplistic, and it has a very beautiful sense of melancholy and heavily divine sentiments to it. And one of my favorite elements of this film, actually, aside from the story in and of itself, is the music. The music is beautiful. I've always felt and still believe to this very day that the music that you hear within the confines of this film is something that you would hear if you walk through the pearly gates of heaven, or if aliens did create music. This is what it would sound like. That to me is the it's very important to have music that ultimately serves a story as well, and the music really sets the mood. It's not distracting. It's not anything that is jarring to the point to where it eliminates the acceptance of the story, if you will. It really truly gives you that sense of, wow, we are actually experiencing having a conversation with an alien being that's using the human body as a vessel. One of my favorite moments of the film actually is one of the most beautiful moments of the entire film, in my opinion. And it's a spoiler here, so if you haven't watched the film, I'm going to give you a few seconds to kind of step away. But the film came out in, let's see here, 1984. There's a moment where the Starman is happens upon a dead deer when they stop at this local small restaurant, and viewing the human race as a primitive species, he uses his special abilities to bring the deer back to life. And it is such an emotional and monumental, beautiful moment that is when Jenny Hayden, the character that Karen Allen plays, recognizes that this being does not mean any harm and has the ability to heal and to bring back the dead. Well, bring back the dead into the realm of the living. It is truly, that scene moved me to tears. I'm not even gonna lie. And once you get to the ending, it's just, from then on, as I mentioned, it is truly a journey of self-discovery, and it's a wonderful storyline of character development, love, acceptance, and I have watched this film many a times, and I never get tired of it. I've always told people that my top favorite films of all time is a tie between Halloween and Starman. And both of them obviously directed by John Carpenter. So two of my favorite films of all time is directed by John Carpenter. So that lets you know exactly how I feel about him as a director and just overall a wonderful storyteller. But from my perspective, Starman, an amazing film, highly recommended. It is great for the entire family. There's nothing overly violent. There's hardly any profane language. There's nothing horrific. It truly just provides you with a great sense of storytelling and for me, a love story that is done right. That's not too sappy. It's not too, it's not too on the head. It's simply just a story that manages to successfully combine elements of a science fiction story with a love story concept. Just by far a marvelous film that I highly recommend for the Vault of the Sumter Film Critic from the Cinema Escape. That is my review of Starman. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have watched it, please let me know what you thought about it. If you haven't watched it, please do so. You're doing yourself a great disservice by not experiencing this film. 2 thumbs up. Let me know what you thought about it, and I hope to hear from you guys soon, and you'll be hearing from me again as well. Hope you guys are remaining safe and healthy, and I will see you all again, my friends. Take care, and peace out.